Hey guys and girls, tonight I have for you what I consider to be one of the best, if not the best, $30 to $50 work knife ever made, and that would be the Rat 1 from Ontario. Everything I say about this also goes for the Rat 2, just depends if you want more knife or less knife. Personally, I like the bigger knives, but I also own a Rat 2 as well. These knives are extremely high performing, very tough, very well built work knives. That's where they shine at. Is a work knife something that you're going to go, if you work in a warehouse or something, and you always got a knife in your hand and you're beating the hell out of it, cutting thick straps, cutting heavy cardboard, cutting God only knows what, plastic sheeting, blah, blah, blah. That is where these knives really shine at. I love both the Rat 1 and the Rat 2. I have them in the one of each in AUS8 and one of each in D2. And I will say that I only really suggest anybody buys the AUS8 versions. The company in Taiwan that makes these for Ontario really has the AUS8 dialed in. They do a really good job on it. The D2, not so much. I've had some D2 from them that's okay, and I've also had some D2 from them that's quite bad. However, every piece of AUS8 I've had from Ontario has been fantastic. So what I'm assuming is that they just have a lot of experience. Whoever makes these in Taiwan, they have a lot of experience with AUS8. They really know what they're doing with it. And every knife is good. The D2, it's just like D2 from China. Some's good, some's not so good, some's terrible. So I really only suggest anybody ever buy the AUS8 versions. It typically outperforms the D2 versions by quite a bit. It sharpens nicer. It holds an edge better. It's less chip prone. It's just better. Now, if you get a really good one in D2, then yeah, that's going to be a good knife. But the odds of that, I wouldn't play that game. I would just buy the AUS8. Because if you do get a really good one in D2, yeah, it's going to outcut the AUS8. But are you really going to notice the edge retention increase? Maybe. Depends on what you're cutting. For most people, though, probably not. They're going to be similar enough that unless you're doing a cut test, you're not really going to notice a difference. And even if you do get a good D2 one, the AUS8 one is still going to be less likely to chip on you. That's just the way it is. Now, what makes these knives so good is just how damn well they're built. They're super tough. They're monsters. These things are built like a tank. They're not a light knife by any means. They're not heavy, but they're not light. They have fantastic actions. Reverse flick, thumb flick, slow roll. Any way you want to open it, they're great. Lockup on every single one of them I've ever seen or had has been perfect. Rock solid lockup. Good pocket clip. Goes in and out of the pocket really easily. Holds tight. The geometry is pretty good. They're a little thick behind the edge, and they do thicken up kind of quick once you start sharpening them. After like 5 or 6 edges, they're starting to get a little thick. The good thing is the AUS8, it touches up on its drop beautifully, and a light micro bevel on a ceramic rod. Once the edge starts to really fall off and the strop don't bring it back, just a light micro bevel on the ceramic rod, and you're back to hair popping, good to go. You can get a whole hell of a lot of use out of one edge if you just strop maintenance until it starts getting slick and not having bite. Then do just a ever so light micro bevel on a ceramic rod. That's going to get you your bite back, and right back to the strop when it starts to dull off, and you just repeat that cycle until you've increased the edge angle, the micro bevel angle, and to the point where it's time to hit the stones. When it does, you're not removing a ton of metal, but you got to get that fatigue steel off of it, and you're right back in business. This knife has done a huge amount of cutting, a huge amount of cardboard cutting, and I think I'm on I believe this is the third edge, and it is at around, I'd say it's right at around 19 thousandths. Yeah, right around 18. So still, pretty slicey geometry, not overly thick. I probably got 3 or 4 more sharpenings, and it'll be at like 25 thousandths. Then I'll probably do a regrind on it to correct that, take it down back to like 10-12 thousandths behind the edge. Or I'll just do a thinning on the stones, thin it out some, get it back to around 17-18 thousandths, and continue doing it that way. I don't know, it depends on how I feel. I love these knives. I will always have them in the collection. If something happens to one, I'm going to buy another one. I have already been through, I believe, it seems like 2 of the Rat 1 AUS8 models. This may be the second one, but it seems like this is the third one over the years. And the reason is because, you use them, you sharpen them, and once they started getting thick, I just get rid of them or give them to somebody. Buy another one. Yeah, this has to be the third one. So, I have a lot of use on these knives. I've never had any problems with them. They've always been perfect. Just everything about them is good. They're super comfortable in hand. They're ready for hard work. You can choke up on them. You can get pretty close to that edge without danger. Hold them, standard grip. You're in good shape. Like, you got plenty of handle, even on the Rat 2. Even with pretty large hands, I still get a full grip. The actions always break in to be very, very nice. They're always a good snappy detent. Very, very serviceable blade shape. This is just so useful when you're using it in a work type environment, be it for, again, cutting cardboard, cutting straps, cutting plastic, cutting whatever. I really love this blade shape. It also makes for a great skinning knife if you wanted to use it during hunting as well. That if I had one complaint about them, it would be these scales. The FRN scales, and I have no problem with FRN. It's specifically these, and it's just a patterning. It doesn't really bite into your hand very good. It gives a little bit of texture, but it's not slick, but the knife's not going nowhere, but it just doesn't give that feeling of security, like, say, Spyderco's bidirectional texture on their FRN, or even a good G10. It just, I don't know. I need to get me some G10 scales made for them, or make them myself and throw some G10 scales on these guys. Actually, that's probably what I'm going to do. because that's my only complaint about these knives. Past that, I love them. I love the pocket clip. It goes in and out of the pocket easy. It's got good retention. It holds tight. It doesn't tear your jeans up, again, because this material is kind of slick, so that's one positive. You know, they're just a good knife. That's all there is to it. I do suggest, if you get them, unless you can get like the coated version on sale, I suggest to get the normal like satin version and stay away from the coated blade, because as you can see, this coating, I mean, and don't get me wrong, that's a hell of a lot of cardboard cutting this knife's done, but the coating wears off pretty easily. Not pretty easily, but it will wear off, and then it makes the knife look bad. Not to mention the satin will just cut nicer anyways because less friction. But, you know, the blacked out does look cool. Again, I still suggest go with the satin. Both of my D2 models are coated. My Rat 2 and AUS8 is uncoated, and then this guy here. But I need to grab another one anyway, so I'll grab me an uncoated one probably tonight. Anyways, this AUS10 takes a fantastic edge on any stone you got. It doesn't matter if it's aluminum oxide or diamond, doesn't matter. Typically, I just use like Koromaku's or Chosera. That's what I'll finish these on. I typically finish them at 600 to 800. That's kind of where I like this steel at. That's where it seems to perform the best. If I'm finishing it on diamond, then I'll just use a 325 DMT. It doesn't really like to be polished, so I would avoid that. If you polish it, it's going to get slick quite quickly, so I would definitely stay below 1,000 grit. If you're using diamond, 325 to 400, like a Toma 400, DMT 325, something like that will be ideal. If you have an aluminum oxide stone that's in the 320 to 600 grit, that's where I would keep it. 600 if you want more fine edge performance, you know, a stickier fine edge, or, you know, 320, 400-ish if you want more tooth. That's how I would set the knife up edge-wise. You're going to get good performance out of it that way. If you start to take it up to 1,000, yeah, it's going to be very sticky, but it's going to get slick during use pretty quickly. And if you get up 2,000 or higher, as soon as you start polishing this stuff, it just gets slick very easily, and you're going to cut very little, and all of a sudden you're going to have a glassy edge. So if you want some bite, keep it below 1,000 and you'll be happy. Another thing is, don't overstrop it. Overstropping is not a good thing. Keep it coarse, enjoy it, enjoy that nice toothy edge, and you'll be surprised how much cutting you get out of AUS8. You really get a lot of performance out of this stuff without spending a lot of money, and it sharpens and touches up so easily. This is a great in the field touch-up steel, because a couple swipes on a ceramic rod and you're right back popping here. So, you know, to all the soft carbon steel boys that, oh, it has to be field sharpenable or I don't want it. This touches up in the field as easy as 1095 does. So that's it. That's another big plus to the AUS8. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I know it was a long video, me babbling, but I'm trying to give y'all accurate information and good direction on a great knife. Y'all have a good night.